Welcome to my channel, In-Flight Music. My name is Ian, and today I want to cover 4 plugins that I consider as the best plugins that you could possibly get for under $30.
3, 2, 1.
If you're new to this channel, I do a lot of FL Studio tutorials, but I don't just focus on FL Studio. Definitely check out my main channel page and you'll see that I give out free stuff like MIDI kits, which work in any DAW. So definitely check those out if you're looking for some extra help with melodies and chords and things like that. But today I want to focus on helping people out if they're looking to buy plugins that are better than free plugins, but can't quite afford the more premium plugins that are $100 or more specifically, really expensive plugins like Omnisphere. Now, these plugins that I go over aren't necessarily something that I consider as a complete replacement, but it will definitely hold you over until you could save up enough money to start purchasing more premium plugins. And another benefit from plugins like these, they tend to be less CPU hungry compared to plugins like an Omnisphere or huge sample libraries like Contact. So the first plugin that I want to show you is Expand 2. And you'll notice a theme with these plugins. A lot of these are from Air. And I purchase a lot of my plugins from Plugin Boutique. No, I'm not an affiliate with them, at least not yet. I'm just letting you know so that you don't think that I'm just trying to sell you these plugins. So this is a completely unbiased review. Now, I honestly assume most of you have already heard of Expand 2. The reason being, it's a pretty good plugin. A lot of people use it as a quick go-to plugin because it's very low on CPU and it has a lot of presets. A lot of these presets sound pretty darn good. I'm not just gonna go over the presets. I'm gonna go a little deeper and show you the reason why I really love this plugin. But here's the list of banks right here. Everything from soft pads all the way down to multi-timbral. You'll see that there's 29 different banks and each bank is loaded with different presets. But as soon as you load one up, let's go to Polysynths and let's click Analog Orchestra. You'll notice that there's an A, B, C, and D. And this is where this plugin really gets fun. A lot of these main presets right here are actually made up of multiple presets themselves. You could access those individual presets right here in these smaller banks, or smaller parts, I should say. So if I were to click this drop-down menu right here, you'll see this whole other list of individual sounds. And this is how they make these bigger presets that are located in here. So this gives you a really quick way to start layering sounds that actually sound pretty good. So this is a perfect example of a preset where I feel like it sounds okay, but I think I can make it better. One of the first things that I'll do before messing with anything else is layering. So I'll go ahead and find more sounds that I want to put on top of this. And then I'm just going to balance these sounds. So already I have a little bit more depth in it, but now I want to go ahead and edit this individual patch because I feel like it sounds a little too bright. If you click on the letter right here, it'll bring up these smart knobs at the top. And these are dedicated knobs to parameters that you're likely to want to adjust. So right here I have the cutoff, which is exactly what I want to use to darken this sound. So if I were to just solo this sound, let me go ahead and turn these other sounds off. Now, one thing that I'm noticing is that there is a filter envelope on this. So even though I'm making it darker, there's an envelope that's shaping this cutoff filter, turning the filter envelope and the filter times all the way down. Now I can adjust this cutoff filter. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add those other sounds back in. And I'm gonna rebalance. And you'll notice that there's some panning right here, so I'm gonna actually make this a little more extreme. These choir voices more to the left, and move these strings a little more to the right. And then have this bigger section right in the middle. that's a lot more epic than what we had before. And then from there, you could adjust the entire preset as a whole by going to this easy section. And you'll have access to, once again, parameters that you're likely to want to adjust, like the attack, decay, release, cutoff. So if I wanted to really make this a pad, a long pad, I would adjust this attack and maybe increase the release. And if for some reason I wanted to play it more like keys, I would place this attack all the way to the very beginning and decrease the release. But we're still not done. Now we have different effects that we could add. You could send any of these individual sounds into any of these effects with the effects 1 and effects 2 knob. Let's go ahead and make this a pretty big reverb, and let's go ahead and send all of these to that. And then for the vocals, I'm just going to add a little chorusing effect. Another cool thing about this plugin are the ARPs. These are pretty inspiring because they're really basic, but they definitely do the trick in terms of just getting the music going and adding some movement. Let's go ahead and add this on a different sound. So let's load up another sound, maybe something a little plucky. And let's go ahead and turn the arpeggiator on. So you could see how you could come up with a lot more sounds than even just the presets here and make them sound really good really fast. So that's why it's usually the first plugin that I'll load up in a project just to lay down some ideas. So this next plugin I consider as one of my secret weapons because I know not too many people use this plugin. This is called Vacuum Pro. And by the way, Expand is currently on sale for 20 bucks. So this is actually $5 cheaper. It's only 15 bucks. And what I love about this plugin is that it sounds really organic and really gritty. And with the rise of the whole lo-fi genre, especially in hip hop, this is definitely a plugin that I think you should have in your arsenal if that's the type of sound that you're going for. But even nowadays with pop and the other genres, EDM, a plugin like this could be very useful because all of the genres as a whole are just getting grittier and dirtier. And there's definitely a lot of plugin effects that can help you with that. But in terms of starting out with a bass sound that already sounds analog, this is something that you would definitely want to pull up. Let's just go through some of these presets really quick and keep watching because there's something that is really cool about this plugin that will really help you out if this looks really intimidating to you and you're not really good at sound design. This has a really cool trick about it. So this has two parts, a part A and a part B, and you can access the parts by clicking right here. These are the settings for part B, these are the settings for part A, and if you click on this Smart tab, just like in Expand, you have all of these controls that are connected to the most likely parameters that you're wanting to affect. So let's just go ahead and mess around with some of these knobs. You can hear a little bit of crackling. This is definitely a little bit more CPU intensive, or I should say a little bit more than a little bit CPU intensive than Expand. But my computer is almost 10 years old, so I guarantee you your computer, if it's anything within the last couple years, you're probably not going to run into the issues that I'm running into. And you have to keep in mind that I'm also recording my screen, which takes up a lot of my CPU power as well, unfortunately. So yeah, that section right there just really makes all of this make a whole lot more sense. But if you are into sound design, I definitely recommend you just literally going in here and messing with every knob. And I encourage you to take the extra step to reading the manual, or at least look up some of these words or letters like VTA, VTO. But in a nutshell, just to help you out, these are basically oscillators. You have VTO1, VTO2. This is your high pass and band pass filter section. This is your low pass filter section. This is basically like a little analog section where you can make it sound even more analog by adding dust and drift, which is really popular right now. The mixer is self-explanatory. Those are your volume knobs for each oscillator. And then here's your envelope section, LFOs, and modulations. If you're really into sound design and want to modulate these parameters with other parameters. And then you have your tiny little effects section right here. It's just chorus and delay. But I promise you, with the quality of sound that you could get out of just this section, or even just the smart section of this plugin, you really don't need too many effects. 9 times out of 10, I don't even touch the effects. I barely even use the mixer after making a preset in this plugin, because it usually sounds exactly the way that I want it to by the time I'm done. This next plugin is a lot less intimidating. It's probably the least intimidating out of all of them, but it's also the most expensive out of all of them. So right now, Expand is $20. This is $9 more, so it's $29. It has some pretty good sounds in here. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, this has over 1,000 presets. It has 1,700 presets to be exact. Just because of that sheer number of presets is why I recommend this plugin, especially if you're not into sound design, because this is basically just a Rompler. It's a trimmed down version of the SynthMaster synth called SynthMaster Player, and this is version 2.9. And you have a pretty good browser here with different categories and then music styles and then the author. I usually just click on the categories or the instrument types right here. I don't really worry too much about music style because I'm the type of person that will use any style of preset and try to incorporate it in my own production. And I'll definitely warn you, you're definitely not going to use all 1,700 of these presets. In fact, I doubt that you use half of them, but there's enough of them in there for the price of this plugin that will be worth it to you, especially if you're someone that likes to layer sounds. So every DAW has its own layering capabilities. In FL Studio, there's a couple ways to do it. One thing that I will say about this, even though it's not a full-fledged synth, it's actually not a synthesizer at all. It's pretty CPU intensive. Like I said, if you have a really old computer, you might run into those issues, but all you would have to do is just go into your options, audio settings, and increase your buffer length. Especially if you're someone that doesn't actually play the keys and you're not worried about latency, and you're someone that just likes to input notes in the piano roll, just increase that buffer all the way up and you'll be able to play this no problem. Yeah, let's just go over some of the presets and some of the features of the plugin. Right here you have your layer effects and these global effects. So you can't actually add in another layer. That's the one gripe that I have about this plugin. I wish that you could actually load any of these as a layer, but that's actually a part of the preset. So if the preset doesn't have a second layer, what ends up happening is it will load up a saw sound. So yeah, we have this lead right here, but if we turn this layer on, that will be default for all of the sounds that don't actually have a second layer. But the main thing that I like about this plugin are just the presets themselves. And let's add in some of these effects. These effects are pre-configured to that preset, so you can't edit these effects. So if we add in distortion, you'll hear that there's not a lot of distortion on it. And that's just the way that that preset was configured. One tip that I have for this plugin is usually the effects that I'm messing with the most are ensemble, the chorus down here, and the echo or reverb. Outside of that, I'm usually messing around with these two windows right here, which are usually mapped to filter cutoff and reverb or echo, and it really just depends on what preset you're using. These will switch to different things depending on the preset. And then you have these easy parameters, just like the other plugins that I was showing you, parameters that you're likely to want to affect most. But to be 100% honest with you, a lot of times they're not mapped to the things that I want to control. But like I said, out of 1,700 presets, you're definitely going to find hundreds of presets that you're going to want to use, especially if you're someone that likes to layer. Like I said, that plugin is $29, but this last one is half the price, 15 bucks, just like Vacuum Pro, and it's from that same company. Now, just like Vacuum Pro, you might look at this, and if you're not a sound designer, you might be a little intimidated by this. I'll just go over the sections really quick, but I'll show you a quick, really easy way for you to just make sounds super fast and easy. Here's your 3 oscillators. The oscillators actually are your sound sources, and then you have your filter section right here where you make the sound darker or brighter, and then here are your envelopes where you shape either the filter or the sound itself, and then your modulation envelopes and your LFOs. One really cool about this LFO section is this pump option, and it's a sidechain. So here's the default sound. If you go to this pump option, you'll see the controls to change this little sidechain. Go to your modulation, and then you could use this pump on any of these options right here. So cutoff, resonance, and FM. More than likely you're going to want to use it on the cutoff, and you just scroll down to pump. Another cool thing about this plugin is this hype section and the amplifier and the amp section. And this is also where you can quickly control any of the effects. Just add more reverb, chorus, delay. Add in the insert effects. If you go to the effects section, these are the insert effects. I don't have any on right now. But this hype low and hype high is a quick way to, it's a quick way to instantly enhance your sound. And then you have this common area where you can affect both parts A and B at the same time. I'm not going to get into the sequencer right here, but here's the really interesting section about this plugin. So you have this part presets section. Just like in Expand with parts A, B, C, D, you can add in individual presets in each part A and part B, and then just adjust the two presets from there. Let's start with a pad of some sort. Forgot to mention that in the filter section, you actually have this little distortion section, which is another thing that really makes this plugin great in terms of just making a sound really fast that actually sounds nice and gritty. So this gain knob is actually driving it into this distortion here. That sounds really nice right there. And you have a few different filter types as well. Let's try a band pass or band reject with a low pass 2. Increase the resonance. So just by focusing on just choosing a preset, a part preset, and then just adjusting the filter and the amplifier section, you can really make these sounds your own, and then just go in and layer another sound. I'd say out of the 4 VSTs that I showed you, this one probably sounds the least analog out of all of them, so it has more of a digital sound. Expand has more realistic sounds with some synthesis. Vacuum has more of the analog feel with pretty heavy synthesis, but it can be simplified down. And then Synthmaster, the Synthmaster player version is less analog than Vacuum Pro, but I would say has more of an analog sound to it than Hybrid. So those are 4 different, if you were to layer the 4 of them using something like Patcher or Layer and then adding your own effects to them, you would have no problem competing with anyone out there in terms of creating sounds that are really original and unique, and you can get quality sounds really fast. My next few videos are definitely going to focus on more plugins. I'm going to go over some free plugins that you should definitely keep in mind. You could definitely take a look at my plugin list right here. These are all of my go-to plugins, and none of these plugins I paid more than $100 for. So, I mean, I actually didn't pay $100 for any of these plugins. Addictive Keys, that's probably one of the more expensive things that I have on. Actually, Silent One is the most expensive thing that I have on this list, but that was given to me by Leonard Digital for a plugin review. But besides that, I have gotten these through either hardware, like Addictive Keys. I got that through my Focusrite purchase, my Focusrite sound card purchase. Same thing with Zeta. I got that with purchasing Cakewalk Sonar. back in the day. Now it's called Band Labs or something like that, and it's actually for free online. Not sure if that comes with Zeta though. Hypersonic 2, they don't even make that anymore. I actually have a few plugins that are no longer sold, which I'll do a video on that because I use the crap out of them. So those are plugins that if you're able to find them in some type of way, I definitely recommend getting those. But yeah, I'll definitely have a video covering the plugins that I got for free, that you can get for free, and a video covering FL Studio stock plugins that you're probably underrating. Hope that helps. I'll see you guys in the next video. Give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Peace.